Thank you, Alona. So this has kind of been a bit of a whirlwind tour for us. So I want to start by thanking all of you for allowing us to host a big party here in your home. I don't know that enough could be said about how successful the event was that we held. So just in summary, I know you've heard this a million times, but Fox Run hosted a conference of communities like this, of all the CCRCs in New York State, and we had great participation. And it wasn't just folks like me and my counterparts at other communities, but we also had attorneys and professionals and vendors and sponsors and all people connected to what we do, to communities like Fox Run where all of you live. And it was truly, it was a special event. So I was very nervous. Number one, I was nervous about the speakers. I was nervous that we had to show off. But I'll just share with you one comment on the way out yesterday from the CFO of Kendall at Ithaca. And he said, I don't want to host next year because we can't live up to what you've all done at Fox Run. So Melissa and I were chatting a little bit, and it wasn't just about the beauty of the campus, but it was about, they recognized that there's something pretty special here, that all of you are so proud that this is your home, but that we work within it, and we're able to do so, and the culture, and you could feel the vibe. It's really such a warm place. And I'll talk a little bit more about some of the speakers, but this couldn't have been pulled off without all of the work up front, all the team pulling it together. So I'm going to ask all of maintenance and housekeeping to come up.
Keep walking, keep walking, keep walking.
So if you just think about, so we're trying to show off, right? And I know many of you are thinking, why don't you do this all the time? But, so let's talk about landscaping. So it takes an entire summer into fall to complete all of it. They did it all in a few weeks. The touch-up, the dings in the wall, the paints, keeping everything clean and perfect, and just as people are leaving their garbage everywhere and shuffling from room to room, just picking up all those little details that you wouldn't think make a difference, they all made a difference. And the hard work and the planning and the stress of Matt having to navigate through a brand new bistro, which finished the week of the conference. It's all pretty special. So all of you, thank you so much for your hard work. It's not unnoticed, and I can tell you that the day before the conference started, I took a walk. I went right to Amanda's office and I said, here's a list of what I'd like to see above and beyond what you've already done. And I started pulling weeds with Melissa, and they kicked us out, and they did everything within minutes. So maintenance, housekeeping, thank you so much for everything you do on a daily basis, but especially for making this fun. John, you go finish your sandwich. I'm right back to work.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. And Matt came in on his day off just for this. And he didn't wear socks.
Stay off. Stay off.
So I just want to share with you kind of the process and what we went through with, so everyone from all over the state came in probably around 10:30 and got ready for this conference. They signed in. So Leading Age New York is our association, and they have membership of probably not just CCRCs, but every nursing home, every not-for-profit nursing home and assisted living in the state are all members. So these folks do this throughout the year. So they knew what they were doing, they got us organized. The scariest part for me was the speaker that I brought in. And he's the assistant superintendent of the East Aurora School District. Why would you bring somebody from a school district to talk about healthcare and communities like this? And Peg knows this because Peg and I both served on the East Aurora Educational Foundation, and we funded this gentleman along with some other folks to go to Disney for training. And his name is Mark Membretti, and Mark came back and presented what he learned. Well, he's applied it to what we do. So we brought him in, and he spoke for an hour and a half about how Disney does things and how we can learn from that, how we can provide all of you better service. And it was a really risky move by us, but everyone was blown away, and they all want to hire him to do speaking in their place. So we had a presentation on dining, we had legal updates, we want to know what's going on with legislation, things that hopefully you never have to worry about, but we have to worry about, was presented throughout the day. And then we all went to dinner in East Aurora at the bank. Has anyone been to the bank? The bank is really cool. But the bank, they don't prepare the food. Morrison was our caterer. And Lisa and her team really showed up. So when you have this symbiotic relationship as we do with Morrison, and they do such a great job here, but we really leaned on them, and Morrison took care of all of it. So all the extras that we've done, you think we probably spent a lot of money on this. We have sponsors that paid for most of it, so you don't have to worry it didn't come out of the operating budget. So we were able to cover all of this, and it was just such a wonderful event. People left here, it was almost sad that it was like the holidays, right? You do all this work, you can't wait till it's over, then when it's over, you miss everyone. So it was truly a wonderful event, and I'm proud of the team that I get to be part of, that we pulled it off without a hitch. And truly it was I can't say enough, it was spectacular. So thank you for letting us do it here.
What was the biggest highlight for you of the 2 days?
So for me, when I go to conferences like this, this one's a little different, but typically the classes are good. You do learn something, and all the classes were tailored to what we do, not just general healthcare. Or general senior housing. It was specific to us. It's the camaraderie and it's the networking. So for me, my biggest worry and the thing I'm most proud of was that speaker that we brought in and having him engage with everyone, and nobody fell asleep. But just Peggy, it's hard to pick one thing. It's the camaraderie, and it's all of it, and all the compliments we got on the way out, and how perfect Fox Run is, and how hard it is to live up to it. So
I saw somebody with the tag on taking pictures of the inside.
well, I'm glad. Oh, you know what? They all do that. So one of the funny things is, so we give tours, and I mentioned this in my opening remarks, that I've stolen something from every community that I visited with my phone. I see something, and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I'm going to take a picture of how they do that. Like our meditation room was an idea from somebody else's community. They were taking pictures of what we do in our health center, and even in our common area, because they see something. Well, I wish we did that way. They were all blown away by the bistro. They think it's the nicest. We call it bistro. They may have different names for it. They were just shocked how nice it was. The lighting was perfect. The colors were great. Of course, it was brand new. It was 2 days old when I got here, so that helps. But yeah, so we were supposed to host this in 2020. And I remember in April and early May of 2020 saying, is this virus thing going away? Should we cancel? I don't know, I'm afraid to cancel. And of course it stuck around for 2.5 years. But our new wing was brand new at the time. So, but of course Matt and his team went in, they touched up the dings in the wall and new coat of paint and really freshened things up a bit, and it looked new again. So, yeah, so they were taking pictures because they wanted to do it like we do it. Yes, Sue?
Can you give us any update on the potential expansion?
Yes, so that's a great question. I knew that was coming. So I had put out a newsletter article saying we need to think about the future of Fox Run. And I'm not going to go through the details of the article again, but It's time. It's good reason. There's so many factors that benefit all of you, but also I want to keep Fox Run as strong as it is 10 years from now as it is today. And with that, that's our next logical step. So we did hire someone a year ago, and we went through this exhaustive process, and they landed on, we're going to expand. What's it going to look like now? What we don't know yet. We did have a big, so with the whole conference we had, it ended at 1:30, and then at 2:30 we had 20 architects and contractors in the creative arts room. Matt just wanted to go home and take a rest, but he was there, I was there, our CFO, Mary Lou Marketing, and Melissa was there. And we just kind of talked about, it was a kickoff phase to come up with a design for what they want it to look like. So to answer, a long way to answer your question, Sue, we don't know anything yet other than we're going to do something. The financial numbers work in our favor. Actually, they tried poking holes in it to see if everything went wrong, could Fox Run still be in good shape? And the answer is yes. Actually, we're going to thrive and flourish if it's half right. But we don't know what it looks like. We don't know where it's going to be or how many. It's not going to be huge, I can tell you that. If I had to guess, I would say it might be 60 units. I don't know for sure whether
60 apartments?
I don't know. I don't know. So we're limited by our space, right? So we're on a 54-acre campus, but we have a lot of wetland. So part of this process was 6 months ago, we've had folks walking the property to mark out, to delineate where that the wetland begins and ends. And then there's a buffer in between non-wetland and wetland that you can build on, but you have to get permission. I talked to Scott Beeler. He said, you can go on wetland, you just have to sell it to somebody else or pay somebody else to take it. I don't know, it's because he told me he was working on a project where they made a significant donation to another wetland so they could expand theirs so he could shrink his property and build something on it. It's like a trade-off. And you think, wow, big donation, that's a lot, but it's cheaper than actually buying new land. So all of these things have been part of the process and part of the thought process. So they have to figure out what they can do on our footprint. Because what we determined was if we expand, we're not creating a satellite campus like Canterbury Woods did. It doesn't seem to work with our metrics. It doesn't work with what I think is going to work. Partnering with somebody isn't it, but we're going to do something here. I don't know. It will be probably a mix of apartments and patio homes. I just don't know where or what it's going to look like.
Across the road over that way?
So I can't say enough that I don't know. I'll let you know as soon as I see a rendering of what it's going to look like.
Okay, so you know.
I'll send you a note. Sue, if I had to guess, across the road is limited space we can use. Across the driveway, you mean? The ring road?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have limited space there, so it's probably going to be, again, this is my guess, a mix of both, across and inside the road. So, in fact, this might be your new apartment, right here, Sue. It's a big one.
Thank you.
Yes, Dick?
Who did the wetland map?
Bergman and Associates.
Bergman.
Yep.
Can we hear the question?
The question was, who did the wetland mapping? Well, actually, Bergman, so Bergman is an engineering firm that's in West New York, and they did the initial walkthrough, but they also brought in the DEC to come and do their walkthrough. So Bergman came up with a map. I haven't seen it, our consultants have it, and we're waiting for the DEC to ratify it. So just to say, yes, that spot is very wet, and you can't build on it.
I could have done it for nothing.
Oh man. Where were you 6 months ago?
Nobody approached me. I'm a soil scientist. I used to make those maps.
I know, well I know, and in fact I was talking about you. I'm not joking, I was talking about you and your Love Canal presentation. Because you were sitting somewhere nearby and I was with one of the consultants. And you said hi, and I said, do you know who that guy is? So it's kind of cool that I could share. I brag about all of you, by the way. Yes, Ann?
I know it's way too late to say this, but has there ever been any thought about if it ain't broke, don't fix it?
Yes, absolutely. And I hope you read the article, because that was a point I wanted to make a strong point, because everything was on the table, including do nothing. The problem is, and again, I didn't want to get into the details of that article. I hope you all read the newsletter article.
Yes.
Because
It's good.
thank you, and to do nothing is an option aesthetically, because you don't want to mess up what we have here, this great culture. But as I look, and I'm gonna just kind of use this as if, just pretend there's a graph here. Here's your service fees, here's what it costs to run Fox Run. This keeps jumping up, and this goes up a little. Eventually, it's gonna get to the point where you're not gonna be able to afford to live here, because costs keep going up and up and up. And of course, we're actually recognized nationally as incredibly efficient. We're efficiently run, we're efficiently managed, but we're able to do so and still keep service fees at a manageable level. We don't want to price it out. We don't want the cost to go up so much that you can't afford it, or the folks coming in and filling in empty units can't afford it either. So we have to be smart about it. We have to plan for the future. So yes, so if you take away, it's a business, it really is. You take away all the finance stuff and say this is a great community, why change it? I agree with that completely, because all of you are wonderful. I love coming to work every day. I haven't had a day where I dreaded coming in, because you're my family, this is my home too. But I also have to be smart as a CEO and plan for not just all of you, but 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. So someday, in 30 years, when I'm old enough to retire, I want to hand it off. I want to hand off just a brilliant piece that people would be begging to take my job. Yes, Bobby. Roberta.
I assume, Bill, that in the long-term planning, you are including all the new climate provisions that the state is beginning to mandate?
Yes, and that's a great one. So what Bobby Dare had just pointed out is the new climate standards. And are you talking about gas stoves versus electric stoves? That's part of it. Yes,
Solar energy.
we actually have to. So in this kickoff meeting we had yesterday, it wasn't just the architect, but we had civil engineers, we had mechanical engineers, we had, what other engineers did we have? Landscape engineers. We had folks electrical engineers who have to plan that out. So in fact, that was part of the discussion, was we also have to keep in mind where legislation's going, whether we can have gas stoves anymore. You know, because I think you're all grandfathered, but a new building, we may not be able to put in gas appliances. So there's so much to think about. All of these pieces that it's all being considered. We did it right. So we didn't do it wrong before. When we expanded our health center, we tried to save money and do it on our own. And communication was tough. I was completely inexperienced how to do it, what to look for. Thankfully, we had a contractor that kind of pulled us across the finish line. And thankfully, we had Matt, who was here guiding us, the whole way. It's different this time. This is a big deal, so we've hired these consultants that are taking care of all of that. And every time they bring in a new person, I'm like, what's that for? So they thought of something that I would never have thought of. So we're doing it right, and we have the right people in place to think of things like that. Yes, Dick?
When you get your wetland map, I'd like to review it.
Absolutely. I think it'd be cool. So Dick had said when you get your wetland map, he would like to review it, which I think would be really cool. And I'd love to hear your expertise and what you think about it. Any other questions? Yes?
Were there any comments on any of the new things you put in, for example, the fire pit, the water feature?
From our guests? I didn't hear any on the fire pit. They love the water feature out front. I don't know that anyone really saw the new patio outside the pool, because the tours were just a small piece, and people file in late and they just skip the tour altogether. So of the 75, 80 people here, maybe 40 took a tour, maybe 50. But I didn't do any tours, so maybe they said some. Did anyone talk about?
I did show the fire pit.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Okay, did they like it?
They did.
Okay, I should have just led with that. Yeah, they loved it. Any other questions about expansion or the summit? I will say a question came up about when is the bistro going to open up for dinner, It's too nice, we're not gonna let anyone eat in there anymore.
Make a mess.
So we do, when I said it was finished this week, it's not finished. There's a couple things that need to come in, a couple pieces of equipment. So Lisa had asked if we could just wait a week or two. I say a week or two kind of vaguely, because when the stuff comes in, then we can open back up for dinner. So once you have the plan set, it'll be, we're already at the end of June, maybe by the end of June, hopefully. Okay.
Yeah, it won't be too long, just bear with us, we're still working on some of the things. They're gonna come in Tuesday to show us how to use the pizza oven, so just so we have our ducks in a row.
Right, we don't want any burnt pizzas, so please get that oven training.
We want pizza.
That's right. Any other questions on those topics? Well, thank you. So we're going to be talking about this we're done talking about the summit now, although I'm still beaming from it. But we're going to be talking about expansion for a long time. So if you have any questions at coffee hour, or you want to catch me or Matt, don't hesitate to ask. We're going to do our best to not answer you and be vague. And no, I really want to be as transparent as possible, but because it's such a big step, I want to make sure we give you the right answer. So if we do delay, it's because I want to give you the right answer. So with that, I'm trying to think if we have any other, did you have any announcements? Mary, did you have anything? Okay. Any resident announcements? Peg? Did you want the mic? I don't know.
I want to talk a little bit about Planting Day and say, some of you heard me say this, but it truly was a community day with staff and residents working together to plant over 1,500 plants in less than 4 hours. That was an accomplishment. I wanted to explain one thing. When I order in February, we order from the Orchard Park Garden Club because they give scholarships, and then we do use a local nursery. And I'll say to them, we really like what we had last year. And I get the feedback, the response that I get from them who are talking to the growers is that they're bad seeds this year, and we don't have what you had last year. So it's a surprise when we see the flowers bloom, because they are a little different. And so I can't tell you exactly what's going to bloom this year. I try and get it as close to what we had, but there's no guarantee. So I wanted to explain that to you. It really comes from the growers and what they can do for us. So again, thank you, kudos to everybody. You'll all participate by enjoying it this summer.
Flowers are flowers, it's going to be beautiful.
Everybody participates, but we couldn't do it without you, because even I get this panic moment every spring. Oh wait, planting day's coming. I know Mary feels the same way, but it's nice to know that we have your guidance. I mean, we're trying not to put such a burden on you every year, but we do have your guidance, and it's wonderful, and we couldn't do it without you. One last comment about expansion, and I wish I would have said it, Ann, when you had asked your question about not doing anything. It's important to us that, and I want you all to know and trust that we feel so strongly about our culture. That's why we shined this week for this conference, and we want to do whatever the expansion looks like. Our goal is to maintain this culture and this environment. It may not be exactly the same, but our goal is to keep it as close as we can possibly have it, because this is just such a wonderful environment for me to work in, and hopefully for you to live in. So that's our goal. Yes, Sue.
As you compare what we pay in costs with other CCRCs around the state, are like entrance fees and monthly fees comparable, less, more, whatever?
So both our entrance fees and monthly service fees, on average, in general, are lower than any of the other CCRCs.
Wow.
It's an unfair comparison, because there's communities on Long Island that have $1 million units, and they're about the size of your $500,000 units. It's just a different standard of living, but I can tell you Canterbury Woods is right up the road, and if you line up, let's take Gate Circle out of it, because that's a lot more expensive if you take their fees. In some areas it's comparable, but in most areas they're more expensive than we are.
What about Binghamton and Ithaca? Are they comparable to us?
It's kind of the same thing. They're generally comparable, but I believe they are a little more expensive. Binghamton's different because they have a different model. They're a 46A, we're in Article 46. I won't get into the specifics, but theirs is more of a fee-for-service model than ours is, and they have different regulations. But Ithaca is part of the Kendall Group, and their costs are definitely a little higher than ours.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you got a good deal. Whoever said that, thanks. Okay, so with that, we'll finally get to our speaker. Sorry for taking up so much time. And it is my pleasure to have Christine Simpson, our admissions coordinator, and of course, Dolly,
Goodman Miskell.
Goodman Miskell. There was a hyphen in there. I want to make sure I got it right. So, she just got married. Give me a break. I knew her name before.
It's still pretty much the same. So good morning, everybody. Thank you for welcoming us to your coffee hour. This is fabulous. What a great attendee. So we are actually going to talk about assisted living in memory care in our health center. It's just an informal education on specific regulations that we have to follow through the Department of Health and the process here at Fox Run. So the beginning process actually will start with you or your family member being in contact with Mary Wellington or our wellness nurses if you're having struggles at home, that you need more support. So from that conversation, that's where myself and Dolly come into play as to see, is the next level appropriate for our health center? So we are actually going to do a PowerPoint presentation on what assisted living in memory care is all about here at Fox Run. All right, so then I'm going to take it over a little bit. Hi, I'm Dolly, for anybody who doesn't know me. There's a lot of familiar faces, but there's a lot of new ones too that I don't really know. So I'm the case manager for assisted living and memory care. I've had a lot of jobs here at Fox Run, so that's why some people look so familiar. So I'm going to go through what all the new stuff I've learned at my new job the last 4 years. I guess it's not so new then. It's been 4 years.
4 years?
Yeah, it's coming up on year 4 years. I know, isn't that crazy?
Yes.
So I'm going to go through all the stuff that I've learned and pass it along to you so that way, because when I worked in independent, I had a really skewed view of what assisted living was, because I think the name is very misleading. I keep trying to get Bill to change it to the Dolly Goodman Miskell living, but he's not going to. trying to get in there. So we'll go through some of what assisted living and memory care provide. So a typical day in assisted living or memory care, we serve all 3 meals. So that's one thing that if you do transition over, that's one thing you don't have to worry about anymore is making meals. You know, we do recommend if you like a snack, like I like Doritos, I would keep Doritos in my room, but snacks in your room. So breakfast is at 8:30, lunch is at 12:30, and dinner is at 5:30. We do recommend people eat. We do have dining rooms for each unit, so we recommend that people eat in there. Just for socialization, good to get out and say hello to everyone. Showers, if needed. If you need assistance with those, they're completed 2 times a week. Laundry 2 times a week, and linen is 1 time a week. That can be changed depending on your preferences, but that's generally our outline. I do assign them. We go through the schedule together. I kind of see what times you like, what time you don't like, and we kind of go through a compromise from there. But not every assisted living resident will need assistance with showers, and not everyone in memory care need assistance with showers. Memory care does need supervision, but assisted living, if you're able to do it independently, we prefer that, we encourage that as well. We want you to stay as independent as long as possible. Medications are usually passed before breakfast, during lunch, and around dinner time. So you have a nurse 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you have aides on 24/7 as well. So they are gonna be there to help pass meds, get you showered, get you ready for meals, things like that. We do have activities. Activities take place usually every day between 10:30 and 2 and 2:30, so that's right in between those meal times. So we definitely keep you busy. They do go around the activity staff and will provide activities throughout the day. We do have like word searches and things like that they're able to provide to you. Memory care staff do a deep cleaning of the room on a weekly basis, and assisted living has housekeeping, cleaning their rooms 1 time a week. We can make your bed every morning if you prefer it. Some people prefer to make their own bed, and that is okay too, but as long as we're safe about it, because I get nervous. And then nursing is monitoring residents every day on 24-hour report. We chart, answer phone calls, help with doctor appointments, contact doctors, pharmacies, all that sorts of fun stuff. Does anybody have any questions so far about what a day in assisted living looks like?
Hi, Laura. Yeah. I wondered if you could just share with us what pharmacies you use.
Thank you, that's a very good question. The 2 pharmacies we like to use in assisted living and memory care is Anthony Brown Pharmacy and Buffalo Pharmacy.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, Sue?
People in assisted living may come over to this side and attend programs or do things.
Absolutely. Any in-house programming, if assisted living is allowed to attend, as well as memory care as long as they're accompanied by somebody. That's allowed as well. You can come to the bistro too, so if you wanted to come to the bistro or the Oak Room for dining, I know the Oak Room does have some limitations right now with reservations and things like that, but you're more than welcome in assisted living to make a reservation. You get a ticket and you come on over, and things like that can be enjoyed as well. Yes, Alana?
When you said as long as they're accompanied by someone, who
Yeah.
is that someone?
Usually it can be a family member, it can be another independent resident, it can be a companion, it can be anybody like that, a family member, friend, things like that.
We actually encourage, when I do our tours and help transition people, we encourage them to still use the amenities in independent living.
So a lot of the times for memory care specifically, a family member will take them out, you know, if it's like a nice day, they'll come walk over outside and then they'll go to the bistro. And that's something that a lot of people like to do.
But
Yeah.
I'm specifically referring to activities here.
Oh, okay.
That's the ones
The
I'm talking
activities.
about.
Oh,
Say the
sure.
ones, are they allowed, who would bring them at a 7 p.m.
Yeah.
presentation? Who would we be able to get for them?
Sometimes family members do,
Well,
sometimes
if it's not
independent.
family members.
Independent residents can as well, or a companion can as well.
Do they come on the road?
Nobody on staff is what I'm saying.
Oh, for assisted living, do you mean, Alona?
Yes, I do.
Oh, assisted living can come on their own.
Okay.
I thought we were still on memory care, I apologize.
Memory care, no, it is memory. I guess my question is, if there is no family members, do staff members bring people down here for such events?
For assisted living, not
We'll go
generally
to
for
memory
both.
care, don't go to your assistant.
So for generally, no.
Thank you. That's
Normally,
my
because in
question.
assisted living, you do have to be alert and oriented.
Right, I understand.
So that's, you know, we're trusting that you're gonna go and come back A-okay.
But memory care specifically, or skilled, or whatever you want to say, they're not able to, there's no staff members, that's my basic question.
Our staff in the health center
Yes.
for memory care and
Skilled.
skilled nursing,
Yeah.
their roles are to remain in those areas
Thank
because
you.
they have so many other people to take care of.
Yes, I understand.
Well, we
That's
are
what I wanted.
flexible, so there is always an alternative if needed, but that's not our general practice.
I understand that, and I know that, I just wanted to hear it.
Okay.
That's okay.
I have a question.
For other reasons, thank you.
I think it would be great, Dolly, if you could just share a little bit about some of the things that you as a case manager do
Sure.
to help residents in assisted living and memory care.
Yeah.
Because it's special and unique, the things that you can do and offer, and I want to make sure everyone knows that those are things that are included.
Okay, perfect. So I guess I'll talk a little bit about my job. Thanks for the question, Lauren. I do like to brag about what I do. So I do like, you know, I do help manage your care essentially. So I'm kind of like an intermediate person between your family and you, and making sure that your needs are met, you're feeling comfortable where you are, you're happy where you are. I do a lot of paperwork as well, so I have to check in with you every so often. We do individualized service plans that are updated every 6 months, just going through and checking on your general well-being. So when I mean that I'm trying to make sure that you're taken care of and you're happy here, that does involve, let's say you do want to start going over, you're residing in memory care, you want to start going over for some evening programs. I'm there to assist to see if we can find a way to get you over to those programs. See if that means hiring somebody, calling on an independent resident that you were friends with, things like that, monitoring those situations. I try to find loopholes through DOH regulations sometimes. Sometimes those are hard. They're really quite strict with DOH regulations, but I try to encourage you to be as happy and comfortable as possible while also following the guidelines as closely as I can. Does that kind of help? Yeah, Janice?
Medications, does that include vitamins? Or do you let the resident?
Repeat the question.
Sure.
So the question was that, does medication include vitamins and things like that? For the most part, it does. Nursing is in charge of handling all, and that's a Department of Health regulation. So that is a regulation given by Department of Health that residents are not permitted to have any ointments, medications, vitamins, icy hots, anything like that in their room, unless it's indicated by your doctor that you can self-administer it safely. So a lot of the things that residents will self-administer is things like eye drops, sometimes an aspirin cream, and things like that. But for the most part, the nursing staff is managing all of those. And those times are provided by your doctor. Yes?
Who determines that someone must go into assisted living?
Well, that's a really good question.
Repeat it.
So the question is that what determines somebody? We know I get nervous up here, you guys, and I bet I did really good so far, but now I'm getting nervous.
She wants to know who. Who
So the question was that who determines when it's time for you to go to assisted living? Sometimes it's a joint decision. Sometimes we'll say, assisted living might be the right choice for you, but ultimately it is your decision. We cannot force anybody to move over that does not want to move over. Sometimes there are safety concerns though, and sometimes there are other issues, but ultimately it is your choice in your life on what you would like to do. But it is a conversation that sometimes staff will initiate if they feel there's something else going on.
Is that a state regulation?
That's not a state regulation. So Janice asked if that was a state regulation. It's not, it's just something, we all care about you a lot. And we've known you for a really long time. So sometimes if we see somebody struggling more than they used to, or having more difficulty and the family support might not be there, or there's just too much happening, it's because we care about you that we'll encourage that maybe you get more help so that way we can care for you and make sure that you're doing okay as well. Yes, Sue?
Can I keep my car if I move to assisted living?
For the most part, I don't generally have cars in assisted living, I'm not gonna lie to you. But that's not to say if you are safe and you're deemed safe still to drive your car, that you cannot have your car. I do have some residents that do, but generally, most people by that point have given up their car.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Dolly.
Hi.
Could I sign a waiver ahead of time, a directive, that when I'm not mentally capable of making my own decisions, that you could take over and put me in assisted without a lot of rigmarole?
Good point.
I've never had that question, but that's a good one. That would be something we would have to.
Because I can do a health proxy or a directive on a lot of things.
Yeah.
It would seem to me I should be able to make that choice while I'm mentally competent, so that when it happens, it just happens.
Yeah, that's a great question. So Jan's question for anybody who couldn't hear her was that she was wondering if she could sign a waiver saying that when the time comes and she's not mentally capable of making that decision, that she's willing to go over to assisted living or memory care. And that's a great question. It's not something that we've discussed, but we do have, so before anybody comes over, we do have a medical evaluation that has to be completed. And then people generally people have to move within 30 days of that medical evaluation. Oh my gosh, cash, yes.
Oh, good, yeah.
So generally, I don't know legally whether we can, but I'm almost positive we cannot be your proxy to do that. But what you can do, like, for you to say, boy, someday I see this is the path, so Bill, I want you to make that decision for me and pull me over to assisted. What I would recommend, what common practice is you put those words clear, and whether it's your advanced directives, your healthcare proxy, you have a healthcare proxy that you can designate that to. So if you feel that way and Janice is your proxy, you can tell Janice, these are my wishes, put it in writing, so then when the time comes and we say, we really think this is the best option for you so you can live the most fulfilling life in that moment. And Janice says, no way, she's my neighbor. Well, it's too bad, Janice, because Jan already made that choice. I don't want to say it like that, it's too bad.
Yeah.
But that was really, when it's your choice, make it clear in your advanced directives. Make it clear with whoever your healthcare proxy is, because I don't believe you can put it on Dolly to make that choice for you. And if legally there's a way to do that, it makes things complicated, so have a third party in line to do that.
Okay.
Good answer. Right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
My question is, for assisted living,
Yeah.
and you said, is there a board? Or who is on this board to make that decision? I understand your comments were that you cannot be forced to assisted living.
Mm-hmm.
My question would be, in my case, I don't have family here.
Mm-hmm.
Who is there a board? Is there a meeting? And how is this determined? Do I get a voice in this? Okay, I'm going to say, for example, I'm against assisted living. Now, this is just an example. But someone needs to make that decision. I can't stay here forever and create a problem in this area. Who is on this committee and who are they?
So it's a conversation that would be held with you, your family members, your healthcare proxy, whomever you desire to be part of the conversation. Typically, that conversation starts while you reside in independent living. So that would be wellness nurse, Mary Wellington, resident service coordinator, and a lot of times they will actually ask me to have conversations with you folks to explain what assisted living can provide you, help you, and support you. But ultimately, like Dolly said, you have to agree to the next level of care. You need to want to, well, not necessarily want to be there, but you need to agree that this is something that you're gonna do. So there's no board, it's actually a conversation with the other people that work here and help transition you through the continuum.
Well, in my case, for example, our children are all out of state. Of course, there's an interest. The reason I said the board, for them to even have a voice in this, or I would want them to have a voice in it, because I'm now not capable of doing this. That's why I'm calling it a board, that they get to sit in on this and hear what the opinion of the staff as well as
Yes, it's as long as the community member agrees to have their family involved, that's a non-issue. We have conference calls, we have FaceTime. There's so many different ways of all sitting down and having that conversation through our newest technologies.
Yeah, I just want to jump in real quick, because this is what...
Take a mic.
I'll just go real quick.
Can you see Mary and Allie and I are creeping in? Sorry.
Just so you know, they're doing an amazing job. But I just want to say, after being here for 10 years, this is a huge part of my job and Lori Gercio and Ellen Potler. So when we see things about all of you and all your neighbors, and most of you come to us and tell us, so-and-so's not doing good, this one's forgetting this one's... So we know it, and so Mr. Lammers, that's what Christine just said, our first step is to have a conversation with you. Lori will say, you know what, I'm gonna go check on Mr. Lammers and see what's going on. And then We'll sometimes contact your healthcare proxy, and sometimes we'll say, you know what, you know, your dad doesn't seem like he's remembering things as well as he used to. You know, we're getting a little concerned about his safety. Safety is always our top priority. Are you safe in your apartment? Do you know how to press your purse? Okay, and then if the answer is, yeah, I'm concerned about a tour, maybe your apartment's a mess, or maybe your food in your fridge, you don't have enough food. So the three of us really work diligently to check on you and then talk to you first, you're alert and orientated, and then bring in some family. And if you don't have family, sometimes it's a friend. A lot of people who live here have no family. So it's sometimes a friend, sometimes it's a paid companion. About 20 to 25 people here have helpers. They're like daughters or sons that just help them. So then we might have a conversation with a companion. So then our first option is if you don't want to move, and we kind of recommend a move, we say, why don't you think about hiring somebody? There's comfort keepers, there's busy bees, there's private companions. You might say you might be financially able to do that. And that might just help you stay where you want for a certain amount of time. So we have a list, it's kind of like our own little business of great companions. I'm looking at one right here. It's okay, you can be disclosed. You've been here for 10 years or more. We know them personally, and they're wonderful human beings. We trust them with our own parents. And if that does, then sometimes that's still not enough. We have an emergency at night. You're wandering down the hallway with one slipper on. I find out about it, and it's like, you know what? Mr. Lammers, you're not safe to be here anymore. So now you have two options. We either bring in our health center team and we get you evaluated to see what level. Do you qualify for assisted? Do you qualify for memory? Or have you bypassed those two stages because you've remained independent for a really long time and now we have to transition to a different level? Or maybe financially you're able to hire 24-hour care. Maybe you have the capability of hiring somebody. You know there's people around here who have the finances to say, you know, I really want to stay here, even though I have this great contract to move next door, I'm going to stay in my apartment. So you have the choice. Our responsibility is safety. The safety for you first, and the safety for the community. Is this easy? Absolutely not. Is it the hardest part of our jobs? Absolutely. Because everybody wants to stay in their apartment right now. I don't blame you. But we do have a fabulous health center, and once we get people over in the right level of care, they do amazing. It's just getting them there. I always use the analogy, if you have a kid who's special ed, and the parents are just insistent on him being in a regular classroom, in a classroom of 35 kids with 1 aide, that kid's probably gonna not do that great if he's got special needs, right? If you agree to get him at a higher level of care, what's going to happen? He's going to get more support, he's going to get more services, he's going to flourish because he's getting the support he needs. So I try to think of it, it's not easy, it's a very difficult part of your life and our jobs, but if you do have a chance to ever visit the health center or you have to move there, I promise you, you will be just fine. These ladies are really good and the health center is excellent, so that's all I got to say about that. Yeah,
I got a
Yes.
That was a great presentation in your, up there on the foot. I would suggest that all of us get a copy of that.
See, Christine suggested that yesterday. And I was like, I don't know, let's not hurt that many trees until we know. So we can absolutely have copies of that for you, that's not a problem. Yeah, Jan?
Can I bring my Keurig with me?
So Janice's question is, can she bring her Keurig with her? And this is where I'm the bad guy. I gotta tell you no. But what I can do, see, if this is where we compromise, this is my strong suit, is compromising. We can get you a cup of coffee anytime you want.
So if I want one at 7 o'clock in the morning, they're gonna be there?
We can make sure you have one.
Oh, right.
So when you're over in assisted living, you have, your PERS button changes for a little bit different of a reason. So right now you push your PERS button if there's an emergency. When you're in assisted living, you push it if you aren't feeling well and you want a pain medication. The aide will come, the nurse will check on you and get you a pain medication if you're able to have one. And things like that. So it changes. So even if you wanted a cup of coffee at 7 in the morning, Jan, you push that button, we would see what you need, and we would get you a cup of coffee.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hi, Sue.
Question to Mary Wellington. Have you ever had an independent resident who was dangerous to be living in her or his apartment because they continually burn food, don't know how to use the oven, overflow the sink, they refuse to move? Can you evict them? Yeah. Wait a minute, microphone.
It's okay, I'll take it, Bill. I got this. The answer is yes, we can evict you. Are you doing that, Sue? And I don't know about that? I know who you're referring to. No secret. Yes, we can evict people. We do have, Mary Lou does have it hot off the press for a letter stating that we can evict somebody within 30 days if we have to, if it comes to that. Do we want to do that? No, we turn off people's stoves, we do this, we do that. We have a, we do have a plan, it's not easy, but yes, we do have the ability in your contracts, if you're a danger to yourself or other people, we can evict you. Have we ever done it before? Not yet.
No. It's important to reiterate, that is an awesome power to wield. So we do take it seriously, and can we do that if it comes down to it? We have steps, as Christine pointed out, we have meetings, we meet with families, we meet with proxies. We can take it, we keep taking it to another level each time because we never want to use that power. It's kind of scary to be able to do that, to say, you're no longer safe, you have to leave. But if it does come to that, where it is truly an issue, do or die, we will if we have to.
All right, thank you.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry.
In the case of a married couple, can one stay in independent living while the other one goes to assisted living?
So the question was, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
So the question was, if a couple resides in independent living, can one half of the couple remain in independent living and the other half of the couple go on to the health center if needed? Yes, they can. That does happen.
That's what this model's for, that
Yeah.
particular scenario.
It's actually the best of both worlds because no longer is that other spouse the primary caregiver. Instead, the time being spent with each other is quality time because it takes a lot to be a caregiver. And being in independent living in the health center, you can go back to independent living and visit in that apartment and do things just to keep the quality of life.
We have it right now.
We do have situations
Several.
like that right now, yes.
Several.
Yes, ma'am.
And the monthly amount does not change.
That is correct, depending on your contract.
Okay.
Yeah. Good point. Yes, 90% in traditional fine choice care, it does change.
I can say, because I did do that with my husband George, and there's so much flexibility. For instance, I said to the staff, if George is having a bad night, call me. I put on my bathrobe and I paddled right through the hallway and got up to him and helped with where I could. He came back to our apartment and then he went back again. He went down to assisted living. There's so much flexibility for what the need is that helps both of us, and it works.
Good. Thank you.
Yes, Alana.
All I have to say, which is short, not normally, is when we came here, that was the whole point of a transition in the same building, and if you have a spouse, to be able to visit. So when people fight, maybe, well, I do have my daughter all on, don't listen to me if I'm battling, you get me in there, and she will take care of it. But that's why we're here. And everybody, most people I have spoken to and assisted love it over there. they're well taken care of, they have their own little community, and I see people coming over, visiting here. So I guess it's what your intentions were when you came here, but things happen as we watch it for here the longest. So I just can't be more grateful enough that all you people are doing what you're doing. It's fantastic, and you deserve another round of applause.
Oh, yes, Neil?
Are there instances where you can go from nursing care to assisted living?
Do you mean like skilled nursing to assisted living?
Yeah.
There is instances. That does happen actually probably more than you think. Some people will go up to skilled nursing for rehab. They get therapy and physical therapy, occupational therapy, and they end up doing a lot better than they initially thought they would. And we stay updated. We have meetings a lot of times during the week. We stay updated on everyone's progress. So if the skilled nursing team felt that someone was appropriate for memory care, they would mention it to like Christine, myself, and our program coordinator Dana, and we would look at everything, evaluate, and go from there. So that does happen.
There's always, did that work?
You gotta say there's always, no.
What else? Things never work right.
It's supposed to work now.
Yeah.
Try again.
It always? Yes. I'm just gonna So, no matter what level of care you're in, and specifically if we're talking about skilled nursing, you have a team of experts up there as well that is actually going to provide options depending on what your care needs are. So there's always typically two options always available. Returning to your independent living apartment with the appropriate supportive services that are recommended, or using the continuum, which would be assisted living, memory care, or if you don't qualify for them, to remain in skilled nursing. So it's always a conversation to move within each level of the continuum. I think we could go on for hours.
Yeah.
Just do a Q&A. Yeah.
Christine?
Yes, Lori.
Can you let everyone know, like, how long it takes to make that transition on average? Like, what people can expect as far as how much time they have to move?
Absolutely. So if we're just talking from transitioning from independent living to the health center, typically it can be as fast as 24 hours, but typically you're looking at probably about a 2-week turnaround once we start and finish.
I have one other question.
Yes, Lori.
Do you have any furnished rooms, or do people bring their own things?
In assisted and memory care, they are unfurnished apartments. Our goal is for you to bring your own belongings because that is your new home. For the health center nursing care section, they are all furnished, but we can supplement those furnishings with your own except for the medical bed. Yes.
Can I just make a comment?
Please.
When my husband had to go to skilled nursing, it was one phone call. There was no paperwork. There was no hoops to jump through. At a very stressful time, it was a very easy transition. So I just want people to know, especially Fox Run folks, how easy you made that for me.
Absolutely, and that's our goal.
I noticed that you didn't have any type of exercise, seated exercise for people in assisted living.
We actually do.
Oh, good.
We do.
What was the question, please?
The question was, she didn't see any activities that were specific to seated exercises.
Physical exercise.
Physical exercises for our community members. And it actually is on our activity calendars. We provide it 2 to 3 times a week.
It's our fitness coordinator, Becky.
Becky, our fitness coordinator, she participates in the health center as well as our great activity staff.
If one would make that big, probably unusual transition between skilled nursing and back to independent living, what would happen as far as furniture? Would that person put their furniture in storage in anticipation of going back?
So when you come to, the question, I'm getting better at this now. So the question is, if you're in skilled nursing and you've been there a while, and then you're looking to transition back to your independent living, how does the furnishings go? So I'm going to take a step back just a titch here. So when you come to skilled nursing, there's a need for skilled nursing. Even you're coming for inpatient rehabilitation, you're coming for wound care, some sort of skilled need. Nothing happens to your apartment until there's a final determination that you're no longer safe to return to that apartment. When that determination is made, then you have approximately 2 weeks to close the independent living apartment, and then you remain in skilled nursing. But besides that, nothing will happen to the apartment until the final conversation is had.
Is there a time on that?
What? A time on
no,
what?
Not on the 2 weeks. How long can you be in skill to keep your apartment open?
It's different for everybody.
Well, I know difference, but what's low and high?
That's a hard question to answer.
A year?
No.
That's why I'm asking. 6 months?
No, our inpatient rehabs, typically, you're probably looking at 1 to 2 months, maybe 3 months tops.
Not, okay. All right.
Somebody was up
I
there
didn't know it was
earlier.
rehab. Somebody's up in skilled, they're not in rehab, and they get well, unless that never happens. How long do they keep your apartment open? That's my question.
So under your contract, you cannot occupy 2 places on campus at the same for a period of time. I do not know what the specifics are because it depends on the conversations of what your care needs include and specifics involved. Some situations are cut and dry where others are not.
I understand that.
So once the determination is made as to what exactly your care needs consist of, then that's when the determination is made if you can return to the apartment or if you need to close the apartment. It is not a year, I can tell you that
No,
much.
I'm just being extreme, but my
Sure.
point is, if you get well and you don't have an apartment to come back to, that's why I was asking the question.
Then we involve marketing, because then you would have to actually repurchase an apartment.
Right, yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
So everything Christine says is absolutely accurate. I would say 6 months is a long time. I don't know if that would happen. But a long time ago, there was one person who was deemed to never be independent and stayed in skilled nursing over a year. The apartment was sold to someone else, and then we call it our miracle, went back to independent living, and is still in independent living, and in a different apartment. So, but yeah, so there is a time limit.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, there was an extreme case, but now is in a different unit.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Are there any other questions before we close?
Thank you.
No? Okay. Please, for any questions, statements, Dolly and I are always available. Our cards are up with Pamela. You can call us, you can email us, you can ask any of the other employees on campus how to reach us, and we'd be more than willing to meet with you, tour you, or just have a conversation.
I would like one moment, have a personal moment. So my mom lives, forget it, it's over. No, my mom's in assisted living, and she's flourishing. She was independent in her own home, and she could honestly be an independent in an apartment, but because of some little extra needs, she is honestly blossoming. And as I visit her, excuse my voice, she always refers to Dolly. Well, they call me Billy. Billy, can you, no, never mind, I'll just ask Dolly. or Killian. So between Dolly and Killian, you'll see her around, she comes to activities on this, so everything you've heard today, all the great things are actually happening. And it's very personal to see. She's actually going to happy hour. She doesn't drink at all, but she has friends that will go to happy hour. She did attend one, and I don't know if she'll go back not being a drinker, but it's really nice to see, and you should all know, because I know it's terrifying, it's scary. I'm not going over there. There's a big canyon between Independent and the Health Center, but it's not, and I can tell you personally firsthand that it's not. And I can see the improvement, the quality of life, because you can function independently, but you can be very isolated because you're afraid to go out, you're afraid, I don't want to fall. I want to make sure my meds are managed. So those are little things that we can do on both sides and still take advantage of the entire campus, still see all your friends. So Mother's Day, I was visiting my mom and she kicked me out because it's 2:30 and Joan and Mary Ellen are waiting for her to play bingo. Okay, I'll see you later. So just on a personal level, just know that we get it, you want to stay independent, but you can honestly improve and flourish just by getting that extra helping hand. And thanks to Dolly for being there.